Let's see. I think we are ready.
What's going on?
Okay, good. Okay, I would like to call to order the Cumberland School Committee on Thursday, August 8th, 2024 at 7:09 PM. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next item on the agenda is approval of agenda. I need a motion to approve. Motion by Mrs. Bogalski. Second by Ms. Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Item A, approval of minutes from the regular meeting 6/27/2024 and 7/11/2024. Approval of minutes from the executive session 7/11/2024, 7/31/2024. The enrollment report, item D, the residency truancy report, item E, the school bus inspection reports from 7/3/2024 and 7/25/2024. Motion by Mrs. Feather. Second by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item is the personnel announcements. Mrs. Drezek.
Good evening. I'm going to apologize because this list is a little bit long. We've been very busy in my office. So we have 28 appointments this evening, all effective 8/29/2024. Jenna Almagno, grade 4 at Ashton. Nicole Burke, school counselor, 1 year only at Ashton and Cumberland Hill. Caitlin Clark, school counselor at BF Norton and Garvin. Catherine Costantino, grade 7 science at McCourt. Jamie Dobson, grade 7 math at McCourt. Elizabeth Dubois, special education teacher, community. Lauren Durante, grade 2 at Ashton. Wayne Dutch, mathematics teacher at Cumberland High School. Diane Flores, MLL teacher at community. Kazmira Gala, special education teacher at Garvin. Sean Geary, grade 7 ELA teacher at McCourt. Tony Gravel, special education coordinator, 1 year only, district-wide. Natalie George, grade 4 at BF Norton. Amber Lemire, grade 2 at Ashton. Lauren Messier, grade 8 math, McCourt. Samantha Parks, MLL teacher, McCourt. Jeremy Pendergast, special education teacher at Cumberland High School. Amy Pinacos, physical education, APE and health at Ashton Community and Garvin. Deborah Rice, a .5 reading specialist at Garvin. Sean Sellers, a STEM teacher at CHS. Moria Serio, special education teacher at North Cumberland. Shannon Simmons, special education, Cumberland Hill. William Smith, .3 music at Ashton and Community. Haley Stardomsky, Spanish teacher, 1 year only at Cumberland High School. Ashley Stetson, grade 6 social studies, 1 year only, North Cumberland Middle School. Sarah Kelly, paraprofessional, Ashton. Vanessa Perez, paraprofessional, 1-to-1, Cumberland High School. Sarah Wanderly, paraprofessional, McCourt. We have 4 resignations. Effective 8/7, Alexis Austin, special education at Garvin. Effective 8/5, Sally Cascioni, special education at Cumberland High School. Effective 8/6, Tiffany Cozzolino, assistant principal of teaching and learning at the high school. And effective 7/30, Deanna Janju, school psychologist, district-wide. We have 5 unpaid leave of absences this year. Jody Lamagna, grade 8 science, McCourt. Carolyn Petty, computer science teacher at the high school. Carissa Sheehan, kindergarten at community. Melinda Spates, science teacher at CHS. And Sherry Walker, paraprofessional at McCourt. I have 2 additional coaching appointments. Teresa Pereira, girls tennis at the high school. And Ross Silva, girls soccer at North Cumberland Middle School.
Mr. Collins.
Ms. Drezek, my question.
I'm ready
What's
for
coming?
you.
How many vacancies do we have as of right now going into the school year?
Right now, I have 13 vacancies and 7 positions just pending paperwork.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith.
Ms. Trezek, how many of the positions that we added to the budget this year have been filled? I believe there was 4 at McCourt, and then there were several others that were,
So right now we have, for the added positions, there's 2 not filled. All the rest were filled.
thank you.
All right, thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Jessic. Next item on the agenda is report out of executive session meeting. Report out of executive session meeting on 7/31/2024 and 8/8/2024. Item 1, report out of executive session votes. We did not take any votes at these meetings. And the next item is the vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. I need a motion to seal the minutes. Motion by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Thornton.
Good evening, Madam Chair. First night, we have our guest here tonight from Alpha Best. I'd like to call up Adrian DiPasquale and guest to present some info on our Alpha Best program. So, welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening. We are thrilled to be here tonight. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Adrian DiPasquale. I am the Regional Director for Alpha Best Education. I'll oversee programs here in Rhode Island as well as Massachusetts, Kentucky, and Illinois. An interesting region, right? And here with me I have Victoria Harmon. Victoria is our area manager now over Cumberland. So welcome to Victoria. This is her first school committee meeting. Happy to have her here with us. We are thrilled to be here tonight just to share with you an update, let you know where we are going into the school year, take any of your questions, and hopefully let you know that we are ready to have a fantastic year ahead. There's slides. We do have a few slides in there if they're available. Perfect. You probably remember Kim Christopher, formerly Kim Jennings. She's now married with her new last name. She is now the National Director of District Partnerships. So you will still see her gracing the presence of your school committee meetings. She will still be a fabric of updating you on the status of our partnership, giving you updates on our enrollment and how we have been a big part of your school community, hopefully. And of course, myself and Victoria. We will continue our enriching curriculum with the students of Cumberland in our afternoon program and our before-school program too, using some of the wonderful curriculum opportunities that we provide for students. These enrichment opportunities are based in research-based curriculum pieces that we have worked with some of the most renowned. I mean, we work with Lego Robotics out of the Museum of Science, Boston, the authors Peter and Paul Reynolds. We also collaborate with Green Mouse Academy and the United States Tennis Association in order to provide a robust opportunity for children when they are in our care in the before and afternoon. School year coming up, and I know there are some interesting changes to your schedule. We, of course, will be able to maintain all of our programming at the times that we have always been able to. Our staff always report to the school locations at least 20 minutes in advance of student arrival to ensure that we are prepared to take attendance, ensure student safety, ensure that we have the space available. I know at times things come up and principal might need a cafeteria, and we are always flexible, so our staff arrive on time in order to support all of the endeavors at the school. In addition to that, I know on the next slide, we've got early release Wednesdays back in the plan. So we are really excited to be able to collaborate and support those times and opportunities for you. Our Alpha Best staff will arrive at 1:30 for the schools that are going to be dismissed at 1:55, and then 2:15 for the schools that will be dismissing at 2:40 p.m. We are really looking forward to supporting and being a part of the community. I know that our wait lists typically tend to be a popular topic. So just to ensure you, we've been working through that diligently to ensure that we are accommodating every family. We currently have a wait list of about 11 families, and we actually don't anticipate having those on there tomorrow. Victoria and I have been working to ensure that the staffing has been securely placed at each location based on enrollment and interest. So we are feeling really confident about our staffing for the school year and feeling really confident about tackling any needs that families have. We'd be happy to answer questions.
I think we do have some questions, Mr. Pirro.
She answered my question
Oh, okay. Mr. Rogowski?
You answered most of my questions, which was going to be about the wait lists. But how long can families register? Are you taking them on a rolling basis still?
Yeah, rolling basis. It will be open all year long. And even if a family does get sent to a wait list, we are making every effort to even reach out to a family if we are at full capacity and our licenses have no room, no wiggle room, or we are out of every space, every nook and cranny that we could possibly use. Our plan will be to reach out to every family individually to even offer them a partial schedule. That's something that we have, been afforded in a new student management system that we have this year that allows us to really break it down day by day and be able to contact families on a one-to-one basis.
Mrs. Vogel?
Do you know what your license capacity is at each center?
It differs at each location. Victoria could speak to that. Yeah, absolutely. She has the numbers available and she can speak to that. It really is always based on locations that we have available. So if it comes to a point where we are looking to increase capacity, we will certainly work with building principals to see if we can secure additional space for that.
So at Ashton right now, our licensing capacity is 52. BF is 45, Community is 127, Cumberland Hill is 103, and Garvin is 65. You're welcome. And then our capacities overall, right now for all schools, are listed at 54 based on our staffing and numbers. So that will change if we can get more staffing.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Smith?
What is the teacher-student ratio?
Great question. 1 to 15.
15, thank you.
To 18. Victoria told me there's an update. That's exciting. 1 to 18, which actually, increases our opportunity to have families be a part of the plan. I will say that we do our very best to even work with the high school students to provide opportunities for them to work for us as teaching assistants. So one of the missions for Victoria and I this year is to spend some time at the high school and meet students who might be interested in opportunities with us. Not only does it allow us to increase our capacities, but it also gives us an opportunity to give back to the community in a way and wrap around the community in a different opportunity to give kids an experience. We notice that our students tend to really respond well to the high school kiddos, and the high school kiddos typically really love engaging with our younger students. So that's been a really nice partnership as well.
Mrs. Vogel?
I know you all are DHS licensed facilities.
Yes.
So it's 1 to 13 for staff-to-child ratio in school-age programs.
I will get clarifying information on that.
Okay.
We had been working with licensors really closely in the past 2 months or so because there were some interesting developments in terms of capping us at a certain number. But our licenses here in Cumberland were, for lack of a better term, grandfathered in. So I will investigate that with more detail. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Of
and
course.
Very nice to meet you.
Great to
And
meet
we
you all as
appreciate
well.
The partnership, we really do.
Absolutely. Thank you. We look forward to an awesome year. Thank you.
Bill, take us back if you could. On to our next item, if I could get my new assistant to take us to the third slide. Just a quick, back one. There you go. Back to School, Rhode Island. As you know, every year we have an event at BF. This year, Saturday, August 24th from 10 to 1. It's the backpack event. You can see the list there for Rhode Island, and we are the second one on the list. So once again, BF Norton, the backpack event. There are a lot of neat additions to just the backpack as you go through the whole kiosk of locations. So it's worth seeing. So if you're around, please come down on the 24th. Next up, this will be on the website tomorrow, just a partial listing of events coming up in the month of August. You can see the Preschool Center has some events, BF Norton has orientation, McLaughlin has meet and greet all students. That's on Friday, August 30th. So you can go to each school or just go to this general site to see some of the events coming up. I just want to give you a sense of, things are starting to ramp up in August, and here's the list right now we have for the website. And now, without further ado, the favorite topic. Next slide, Phil. Oh, sorry. It's, okay, you can leave it there. Before construction. We actually did the yearly process of looking at transfer requests, and we actually looked at 81 requests today, and we were able to honor 75% of the requests. We truly do our best to honor folks who want to go from one school to another school, and in this case, we did honor 3/4 of the requests today. So that was the process today that was finalized. And you'll see letters going out in the coming weeks to families on that. Now, construction. Before I talk about Ashton, there's a lot going on right now in the district. We have some work being done in the trans cafetorium on the 3rd floor, a couple of classroom spaces. We have work happening at the entranceway at McCourt in the office area. We have work happening in the kitchen of NCMS. And of course, we have Ashton and community. Ashton, these are today's pictures. It's really moving along. On the left, you can see just we're into landscaping. They're into paving. This is the first layer of paving. That's course number 2 being laid down. That's today. They're going to do course number 2. Next slide. The inside, this is the front entranceway. The glass is in the main entrance. The glass is in the corridor areas. You can see here lockers are in. That's an old wing renovated, so you can see it has a fresh new look, new ceilings, new floors, paint, new doors here. This is the office. That's the office desk area, and that's just the whole look of the new flooring, new ceiling. This is the stage. I am told we may start the first day or so of August with the stage not done. So we'll wait for the ribbon cutting until the stage is done, and that's just the one thing that's lagging just a bit. And over here, you can see once again the lockers, little students. You can see here we have one of the common areas. Lights are in. Will's team has been doing a great job waxing all the floors as the team finishes all the construction, so it's being done as they move. The technology is all staged. We have flat panels ready to go, all built on site, ready to go out. In here, this came in today. This is furniture. It all came in, and it's being assembled in the main common area to put into the classroom. It's all happening as we speak. And I think that might be it for the pictures. Yep. So any questions on construction, I can answer them, I hope.
Mrs. Rogowski?
I know in the past with schools, there's been opportunities for us to come and tour and see the progress for ourselves. Is that still an option for us with Ashton?
Absolutely. Tuesday, if you're around, Wednesdays, let me know.
Sure.
Holiday Monday, right? But yeah, I would say anytime next week, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to point out that although the stage at Ashton will probably not be ready for the opening of school, it will not negatively affect the use of that space during the school day. They'll get all that work done outside of school hours.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Thornton? Oh, Ms. Smith?
This is actually on the transfer of students. Could you just go through briefly the process that you do and how it's done?
Sure. The process is essentially parents can request a transfer from one school to another. They do that usually via email or a phone call, and we notate it, and we keep a record of who made the request and when it was made. Then first week of August, right around now, we take all the requests and process them and keep filling them as we can, given numbers of class size, contractual numbers, that kind of thing. So we went through the process, the list today, and we approved 3/4 of them. The big, I think the ones we couldn't approve this year, a lot of them were the K grades, early grades. That was the challenge right now. But keep in mind, we have to maintain the class sizes and also look at the capacity of the classrooms.
So it's actually filled based upon the requests coming in, the dates, and you go straight down a list. It's nothing.
Right, it's really date-based. I know some people would argue, why don't we look at a circumstance of one situation versus another? I think it'd be kind of problematic to try to have one person's circumstance merit more consideration than another. So we essentially use the dates that they come in to do the process.
Just to go off that, I know we've talked about it too, but I was wondering if maybe you could speak for a minute to when parents say, well, what's one more kid in a classroom? If you could just kind of go over what class limits are in
Sure,
class
so for
sizes and why
example,
it's so important.
I believe grade 3, the class cap is 23, and by contract, I can go 2 over to 25. So as we look to fill these classrooms and look at the building capacities, we look at, being mindful of who might still move in, how close are the caps right now. For example, in some grades right now, the class cap might be 23, and let's say I have 3 classrooms, I might be at 24, 24, 25. I'm already 2 over in one and 1 over another. I could do 2 more right there and then and there, but to me, at that point, we're closed, and we save those last 2. If someone was to move in during the year, you need some flexibility there. Where we always look at safety valves, I call them, where if grade 3 is closed at, say, Garvin, we have space in grade 3 at Cumberland Hill. We usually try to keep some location where there's space available per grade if someone comes in. For example, right now, I believe a community has space in K. That's one of the places I could put folks in the north. BF has space in K in the south. So that's what we look at to have different locations. But I couldn't just go over the contractual cap. It'd be a violation of the contract. And also, at some point, you can't put more desks in a room. If you go into a classroom and look at more than 25 in some of those little classrooms, that's a lot of kids in one room. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Next on the agenda is reports of standing committees, starting with Fiscal Management Subcommittee update. Mr. Collins?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Fiscal Management Subcommittee met this evening. We have 17 resolutions for the full committee, payment of the bills. We also were introduced to the Chartwell's group that has taken over our food services. They give us a presentation. A lot of great information in there, so we're real excited to have them on board. Dr. Thornton filled in for Will DeJesus talking about the school preparation. We are way ahead of a schedule with getting the buildings and grounds ready for the new school year. In addition to that, we are also looking at the community school transition to this building temporarily for this year, and conversely, the exodus of Ashton to their brand-new school. So that is underway as well. So a lot tonight. Look forward to discussing some of that later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Next, Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update. Mr. Fiorello?
Thank you. We did have a meeting on Tuesday evening. We had a pretty full agenda, which we were not able to get to all of it. We were due to speak about the handbooks. However, we honestly just didn't have time for the handbooks, and the high school handbook has not been finalized yet. We're looking at making some changes, some things that will affect the high school handbook as well. Just so you know that we do have until the end of September to approve the handbooks. One of the things we discussed was the attendance policy. There was no vote. There have been no changes as of yet. I met with a team of essentially mental health professionals last week with Alicia DeStefano, the special ed director, as well as others, including the administration from McCourt, to really try to understand some of the societal factors that go into attendance issues and trying to address those from that angle. Next week, I'll be meeting with folks from the high school to listen to their concerns, because of course high school attendance has been an issue, and we're trying to figure out ways of bringing it home to parents and students that attendance really does matter. So we'll be working on that probably for the next several weeks. We also discussed high school proficiency-based grading. We made some small changes, which we'll discuss later, and I mean, honestly, they're very small changes. We also discussed policy A1, which is up for a vote later to actually delete from the policy manual. It is just a policy which discusses our boundaries, being the town of Cumberland, which is actually set forth in our town laws. And not a very common thing among school districts to have that kind of information. But we are going to be discussing and have a first reading of our new mission statement, which will take over the A1 slot, which I always felt that the mission statement for the school department should be easily accessible by the public, as well as should have more of a process for us, the school committee, to approve and change as we see fit, which has never been the case. So we're actually going to put that into policy. We also discussed, I'm missing something, we were supposed to talk about camera surveillance systems, but that was also tabled because that policy, amended policy draft is not ready yet. That will be ready in 2 weeks. And I believe that is everything from that meeting. So we've been having, we're going to be having a very heavy policy meeting agenda for the next several. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorello. Next is Achievement and Communications Subcommittee update. I've been in touch with Mr. Damana, and we will be planning a meeting in September. I promise. Next is District Health and Wellness Subcommittee update. Mr. Rogalski, nothing. It's not, doesn't happen during the summer. Got it, thanks. Okay, next item on the agenda is public hearing related to our policies. I'll hand this over to you, Mr. Fiorello.
I would just ask that the amended policies, I-13, high school proficiency-based grading, be read into the record, as well as a revised draft of the K-6 textbook loans to students enrolled in non-public schools policy, which was literally amended this week and was not able to make it to the agenda and policy, but you have all had a chance to read through that, so that just needs to be read into the record. Also, we have the first reading of the new A1 Cumberland School Department mission statement, which will need 2 full readings before it's able to be voted in. And making room for that policy will be the deletion of policy A1, the school district name and boundaries policy, which will be voted on later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorello. And next on the agenda is any public comment related to these policies. If there's anyone from the public who would like to speak. Seeing none, we will go to the regular comments from the public. If there's anyone from the public who would like to make any comments. Seeing none, we will move on to old business. Item A, discussion and a vote regarding parties' tentative agreements on the CTA collective bargaining negotiations. And I just want to preface this with saying that we have had a very harmonious and collaborative negotiation period over the last, actually, several months. I want to thank Mrs. Rogalski and Mrs. Vogel for being the school committee partners on that with Dr. Thornton and with Mr. Adams, our attorney, and thank Carrie Carlson, the president of the CTA, that has gotten us to this point where we are prepared to take action.
Madam Chair, if I could, I just want to,
Sorry, Stephanie Gonzalez, I'm sorry, I gave all the credit to
Yep.
Mr. Adams. I'm sorry about that.
That's a man's world.
I was gonna-
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to add Ms. Gonzalez, also Ms. Drezik, and Mr. McGrath.
Thank you
Big
to
thank you.
everyone.
And Mr.
Oh, my
Stephanie.
goodness, that is like classic. I feel like I'm on the set. of
Everyone
Barbie.
here.
Thanks. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And so now, pleasure of the committee on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Fiorello makes a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Rogalski. Any discussion?
If I may.
Mr. Collins?
And Dr. Thornton, and obviously this has been approved by all parties, including the union?
This is, they are scheduled to ratify this.
Subject to their ratification, right? Just for
That's correct.
clarification purpose? Okay, thank you.
Subject to the ratification, I believe, next week at some point.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to approve in a second. Any other discussion? Ms. Smith?
I just wanted to echo what you were saying as well, to thank you to everyone, and thank you to everyone in the union who participated. I know there were a lot of people involved with it. It's really good to get the updates every week and know what's happening and how everything has been managed. So super good job, and thanks to the ladies on our committee for standing up and helping out with it as well. But thank you to all of those out there that may be watching us with the unions, and for handling it so well with us and really coming into a great term.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Congratulations, everyone. Next item on the agenda, item B, discussion and a vote regarding parties' tentative agreements on the ICSI collective bargaining negotiations. Same sentiment as I shared about the CTA collective bargaining negotiations, and a thank you to everyone who has been involved in this. Pleasure of the committee on this item. Motion to approve by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Ms. Smith and Mrs. Vogel. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. And I should say that that has been ratified by their union as, has already been ratified by their union. Both of these agreements, sometime later this month, we're expecting they'll be ready to be published on our website. Next item on the agenda is new business, item A. Discussion and a vote on record of final action taken concerning alleged violations of school committee policy with respect to a student athlete. So I will read our public summary of this investigation. About 8 months ago, a parent made a complaint to the superintendent, which he forwarded to the school committee. Broadly speaking, the complaint was that Cumberland School Department employees were not following school committee policy or were otherwise engaged in unfair treatment of the parent's child, a student athlete, in connection with the student's participation in interscholastic athletics. In response to this complaint, the school committee voted to conduct an investigation concerning these complaints to determine whether its policies were being followed. The school committee chose to use an independent investigator with no ties to the Cumberland school community to conduct the investigation. The committee wanted to ensure that the parents' complaints would receive fair and unbiased consideration on the one hand, but also that the investigator would look dispassionately at the evidence and not rush to a judgment that the school committee's policies were violated simply because allegations had been made in that regard. In short, the school committee's goal was to ensure that the investigation was conducted with integrity and with utmost fidelity to the task. The committee hired attorney Deidre Carino of the law firm Hennius Carroll Lombardi LLC to serve as the independent investigator. Attorney Carino and her firm have a great deal of experience in education law, serving as legal counsel to several other school departments in the state. They are routinely asked to perform investigations in situations like this, where they are not serving as legal counsel to the school department. Following a 6-month-long investigation into these allegations, Attorney Carino issued a comprehensive and detailed 192-page confidential investigative report, which also included 34 separate exhibits incorporated into the report. Attorney Carino interviewed 12 people, including the complaining parent multiple times, students, other parents, and Cumberland employees. She also reviewed many documents and audio recordings provided by the witnesses, various school department records, and she considered all applicable school committee policies and laws. All told, the school committee expended approximately $80,000 on this investigation, so it was a significant undertaking. The school committee received her report on June 17, 2024, and has now had time to review the report. The parent who made the complaint was also provided the opportunity to review the contents of the confidential investigative report in person. This evening, the school committee will be voting on a record of final action with respect to this investigation pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 382-2-4P. The record of final action will be a public record under the Access to Public Records Act. The parent made 11 allegations. With respect to 9 of those allegations, the evidence did not support a finding that school committee policies were violated, and that finding is reflected in the record of final action. However, there were 2 violations of policy that are reflected in the record of final action. The first violation, school department personnel did not travel in the ambulance with an injured student athlete, which is required if the parent is not available to do so. And the second, school department personnel did not adequately supervise student athletes at a school event. The school committee is recommending that all personnel involved in athletics confirm their understanding prior to each sports season that a member of the staff must travel with the student athlete in an ambulance if the parent is not able to do so. In addition, the school committee recommends that student athletes should remain in one location to the extent practical during school events to ease in supervision, and that once the event is over, staff must ensure that students leave the venue. We also want to clarify a couple of points so the public is aware of the scope of our role. The school committee is a policy-driven public body. The authority that we have under Title 16 comes largely from the policies that we create and through our role in hiring a superintendent of schools. We do not otherwise have a role in the personnel function of the schools. The superintendent oversees the personnel function of the schools under a specific statute that describes the superintendent's roles and responsibilities. That is Rhode Island General Law 16-2-11. So, while the committee was conducting this investigation, which took several months to complete, the superintendent was already aware, for example, of the issue concerning traveling in the ambulance and supervision at a team event. In keeping with his responsibility for personnel, he addressed those issues when they happened. In other words, he did not wait for the investigation to be completed to address those issues. So we do have a final record of action. And tonight, we are voting on this. So the pleasure of the committee.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Fiorillo makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Collins. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes 7-0. Thank you, everyone. Next, under new business, item B, discussion and or vote to approve the memorandum of agreement with ICSI on sharing employee information. Pleasure of the committee. Motion to approve by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Mrs. Vogel. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Thank you. Item C, discussion and or vote to approve the 2024-2025 handbooks. We're tabling all of these. Motion to table. Mrs. Rogalski makes a motion to table.
I just want to mention one
Mr. Fiorello seconds it for discussion.
thing. I just want to mention that the preschool is currently working on the first ever handbook for preschool. Usually they've just kind of piggyback off of the elementary one, but the new director, Rachel Powell, is doing a great job with creating their own handbook. So look forward to that at the next meeting also.
Next item under new business, item D, discussion and or vote to approve amended policies. Back to you, Mr. Fiorello.
So, first item is I-13, the high school proficiency-based grading policy. There is only really, if I'm not mistaken, one very small change. The grading itself has not changed. I just want to double check to make sure that I'm accurate. It's just that, right? It's just really about how many days a student will have to make up work. It's about extended task assignments. It was getting a little out of control with students keep on, putting it off, and the high school asked for this to be reined in a little bit. So they have a 3-day limit to complete the work after it was due, and, they would come back from school if they were out. And so that's just a very simple change. So I would just make a motion to approve.
Okay, so Mr. Fiorello makes a motion to approve I-13, high school proficiency-based grading. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next.
Next. Next is K-6, textbook loans to students enrolled in non-public schools. As we all know, we've been hearing from parents that have been unhappy with the new policy that we instituted last year. And as such, a a complaint was made to the Department of Education, which has clarified their previous guidance, which the commissioner advised us that we were in violation of their guidance and the state law. So we have revised this policy to go back to essentially lending books out for non-public school students. So we'll be doing that as of tomorrow. Yes, as long as the books are approved on the commissioner's list of books. Everything is in the policy, though, is laid out in the policy. So we're just going back to business as usual. I just want to point out, though, that while the state will say that they reimburse us for this, last year, I believe it was they only reimbursed us about 10% for the cost, so we were out of pocket for about $9,000. So, but with that I will make a motion to what? I'm sorry, questions?
Can I ask a question before?
Sure.
Or just to clarify, so we have to provide books to students who are going to private school, even if we don't offer that book in our curriculum. So we would have to purchase that book
Right.
for them to borrow it.
And if anyone's interested, I don't know if Dr. Thornton has the key, I'm sure he does, but there's a room off of this cafetorium that is completely filled with thousands of books that we have bought over the years because of this program. The only books that we are not required to provide are books of a non-secular nature. So, but everything else, as long as it's on the commissioner's list, we have to provide it.
Okay, so, Mr. Fiorello makes a motion to approve K-6 textbook loans to students enrolled in non-public schools. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Feather. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Fiorello?
I just want to apologize to parents for the inconvenience, and I'm sure the stress that this must have caused them. We were not trying to do anything underhanded. We were really just trying to take care of our fiscal responsibilities to our students and try to adhere to the law as we read it. So, and then, the guidance from RIDE was not as clear as it now is. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Okay, next item on the agenda, sorry, I lost my way. Item E, discussion and or vote to approve deletion of policy A1, school district name and boundaries. Mr. Fiorello.
Yes, this is a policy that I have not been able to find in any other school district. I'm sorry, I thought I had brought it up, but it basically says that the Cumberland School Department will, be the geographic boundaries of the town of Cumberland, which we know it's in our state law, it's in our town law. So it is really something that is not necessary, and I want to use A1 specifically for our mission statement. So I would just ask for that to be deleted, and I will make a motion to delete A1, school district name and boundaries.
Mr. Fiorello makes a motion to delete policy A1. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda, discussion and a vote to permit the school department to deviate from the committee's textbook policy in accordance with the commissioner's August 1st Dear Colleague letter. We have no action to take on this because of the vote that we just took previously about K-6 textbook loans. So there's no action to take on this. Next item on the agenda is discussion and a vote to approve resolutions. Mr. Collins.
Thank you. We have 17 resolutions, SCPR-08-2024-119 through 135. All 17 resolutions passed Fiscal Management Subcommittee 3-0, and I would move passage to the full committee.
Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve passage of resolutions SCPR 08-2024-119 through 135. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Vogel. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item, item H, discussion and a vote to approve payment of bills. Mr. Collins?
Thank you. We have payment of the bills in the amount of $1,467,106.73. Payment of the bills passed Fiscal Management Subcommittee 3-0, and I've moved passage to the full committee.
Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve payment of bills. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Vogel. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda, school committee comments, school liaison reports. Any comments from the school committee? Mr. Fiorello?
I actually thought that the new mission statement was up for, sometimes we approve the first reading, which we really don't need to, and sometimes we don't. I thought I had seen it on here, so I just want to read the mission statement, and if anybody has any questions or concerns about it, we can talk about it. It was only the reading. There was no discussion on the agenda. Yeah. So I'm gonna read it out loud, and I'm gonna, right, but I can
Yes,
just
read it.
spout. This policy, what's happened is, at the beginning of the calendar year, we started seeing an influx of complaints from parents with children of color, and there were incidents of racial slurs, basically racist comments being made towards these children and actions. And at first, we thought it was just a little blip, but it became more and more prevalent during the course of the school year, and it was at, quite honestly, every level of the schools. It was at elementary, middle, and the high school. And we started hearing from more and more parents. They got more and more outspoken, rightfully so. Nobody would want this. We've gone through great lengths in the past to ensure inclusion of special education students, and then to see something like this was very concerning. So I was asked to start working on some policy to address this. So I put together a group of the parents that made some of the complaints. Some parents wanted to be part of that group, some others did not. I also had a couple of school employees who deal with the MLL population. And also, thankfully, Mrs. Gonzalez agreed to be part of that group and to be an active part of that group. So we have been doing some work on the first couple of meetings was quite honestly just about listening to their concerns and what their hopes could be better in the future. And one of the things that we've known for a while that needed to be addressed was the mission statement. And the mission statement is the first thing that comes out of this group. This mission statement, although it had input from Mr. DeMana, our assistant superintendent, and Mrs. Gonzalez, is largely written by one of the members who actually has a degree in education. And she did a tremendous amount of research on this policy, on this mission statement. I'm going to read it to you. It is the Cumberland School Department is committed to promoting a dynamic learning community dedicated to nurturing every student's academic growth potential. We are also committed to fostering creativity, embracing diversity, and promoting empathy while cultivating a safe, inclusive, and innovative, positive learning environment, preparing all learners of all abilities to embrace lifelong learning and to excel as responsible global citizens in an ever-evolving world. Part of the work of this group is not going to be just solely based on race. It'll also be making sure that no child, or adult for that matter, is being treated differently than anyone else. We've seen it over this course of this year, also with some of the special education population, where truly cruel things have been said to these children. And so we're addressing everything in a more broad sense of ensuring that every child, every adult is treated equally as we would all want that to happen. So there will be some more work coming down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorello. Any other school committee comments? Okay, then I would just like to wish my daughter, Kinsey Friedman, a happy 20th birthday. I'll be home soon for cake and ice cream. Next item, Next item is vote to go into executive session. We don't.
We
have
do
that
not.
tonight. And next is adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mrs. Rogalski.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 7-0. We are adjourned at 7:58 PM. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.